Layer 6, we're going to talk about compression and encryption. Transport layer security. SSL, we talked about in layer... Oh, we didn't talk about it, did we?
Yeah, we did.
TLS is based on SSL. Uses authentication of both the server and client. We talked about two-factor authentication. We talked about SAs, or certificates going between both parties. Encrypted connections. We are, again, making sure that there's authentication on both ends, confidentiality across the line, and to some extent integrity if we're using checksums. Two protocols used for TLS, the handshake and record protocol. We have not talked yet about asymmetric and symmetric encryption or hash functions, but we're going to get to that when we get to the encryption module in detail. We're going to use root certificate authority public keys. And we didn't talk about certificate authorities either yet, but when we talked about the bridging concept of having an independent third party where Andy negotiated or vouched for the trustworthiness of me and Gail and me and Matt and Gail and Matt. Same kind of concept there. And it supports Kerberos-based authentication. TLS will allow you to have Kerberos instantiation. At 7, you can sometimes make up for problems in 1 through 6. It's a good place to add compensating controls. It's also where we see things like email, SNMP, SMTP or ESMTP. Anyone use ESMTP? I have not. SMTP doesn't have authentication or encryption built into it, but ESMTP does. Is it easy to spoof an email address? Oh, heck yes. Heck yes. A lot of email providers allow you to do it, I think. As part of their service. Open relay servers allow connections that from those domains that aren't normally going to be connected to by that server, meaning they're going to take all comers. They're going to take all traffic. They're non-discriminatory. The problem with that, of course, is anyone can send them messaging. That's wide open for the attacker. Post Office Protocol, POP, POP servers. Other than user ID and password, is there any other form of authentication that's taking place there? Any mail admins here? No. Okay, sorry. No, that's it. That's it. Once you sign in, you are in. You have pretty much verified who you are as far as that's going to go. POP servers don't offer any other hardening there. IMAP. You have some encryption capability, and you get encrypted both the authentication aspect and the data itself can be encrypted. So much more secure than the other offerings. And NNTP. Any Usenet users in here? Now we're going back away. Yeah. What's the problem with Usenet? Or what's the opportunity with Usenet? Same thing. Do you have any identity on Usenet? Is there any verification, validation? No. It's anonymous by design. There is actually no identification there. Which, again, that's both a risk and an opportunity. Instant messaging. Wow. All right. Who can give me the business case for instant messaging? Yeah, there is none. Come on. If you have email, there's no reason you have to be IMing. And I know admins who love IM. I like IM too.
Argue that.
Go for it, please.
Well, I mean, if you have people co-located in multiple buildings, IM is faster to get the quicker response rather than going and having to have a mail client up and waiting for email to come through and like you have it's just like a channel that you can establish with somebody and just.
So instead of 4 seconds, it'll be 2 seconds.
No, but it's a set channel, so you don't have to go and you don't have other stuff interfering with it.
It's cleaner.
It is cleaner.
What she's saying is email gets used for FTP too often.
No. All right. So I won't necessarily agree with that, but I will give a better one. In our environment, so we use OCS for our IM client. It gives state, basically. So I know if you're online and active or not. I know how long you've been inactive. I know whether or not it's likely I'm going to.
Actually, you don't.
That's because you believe those statuses.
Yeah. You don't, because you can change those statuses. Yeah.
I can put an away message in my email too. Yeah, I'm sorry. I like IM. Don't get me wrong, but come on.
I don't like my inbox. I mean, we IM throughout the day in our offices. I would have 500 emails.
Yeah.
Between little chats like back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Does that tell you something more about the benefits of IM or about the distraction that IM offers?
It's work related, but instead of going through email,
It's pretty much saving you a phone conversation more than an email, I would say.
right?
Yeah.
There you go. See, and this is
I
the
won't
thing.
call you.
We
on the
hate the
phone.
phone. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Why
That's
is
why
that?
Yeah.
I'd rather go see somebody in person.
We just I am.
And I think that's generational too.
Is it? Yeah. See,
I get bothered by IM. Like, really, I'm gonna sit here and type over. It's like in 30 seconds, I can finish what will be 5 minutes worth of an IM conversation if I pick up the damn phone and call you. So,
But you can have a group
I
IM
can send
conversation and you
screenshots
can't
when
have
I
a
IM.
you can't have a group phone conversation because we're in the 1800s? Yes, you can. I have 5 lines on my desk phone. And I can even understand how to use them. I mean, it's,
Bring back party lines.
Call waiting. Dude, that was, high tech. Yeah, I want call waiting.
You can say multitasking is harder with a phone, though.
Yeah,
It's a lot
you
easier
kind of have to give
to
your
flip
entire
between windows.
thought process to a phone.
Also, our phones are terrible, so it's really hard to understand anybody.
Also, I don't have a phone.
And while you're on the conference call, you can IM the person about what's going on in the conference call.
Yeah, I've done that.
You take your time.
I like what that one
The
statement says,
screenshots
though.
are huge, though.
Whenever you're IMing, basically, you don't have to give all your attention to the IM. You can do lots of other things. I'm thinking, what does that say, though, about communication in today's era, too?
And how useful
I don't
it is.
really care about communicating with you. I'm just going to give you a little bit of my attention every now and then. As opposed
It's because our management is
I can also talk to multiple people.
All right.
But it's also great for data infiltration.
Yes! It adds another layer of risk. That's all right. No, it does have opportunities. It is useful. But depending on implementations, XMMPP Jabber is open, server-based. IRC, anyone go to chat rooms in IRC? Okay. Those are usually community-based. There's some association that the entire room has. And you're basically shouting to everyone in that. It's like having the multi-party IM. Different applications. Anyone use Gmail? Gmail chat? That one's pretty sophisticated. You can incorporate the phone in that one, too, if you want. Authenticity. A lot of folks can be anonymous in IM. That's one of the benefits of it, actually. It's what drew people to it. Confidentiality, there is none. Again, you're shouting. It's wide open. All right, here we go. Now we'll really do an age test. What's ELIZA?
ELIZA is a bot that you can talk to that...
How do you know this, Andy? I'm impressed.
I'm in IRC.
Okay.
But it basically talks back to you and uses, can't remember what it's called, non-contextual grammar to basically replay back what you said to ask you questions.
I'm impressed. Back in the days of Apple, this really smart person decided he was going to try to approach the Turing test by using that non-contextual stuff, by repeating what you said back at you. And it was extremely rudimentary. It's gotten a lot better now. Now there are entire conversations that go on for months where people don't realize they're talking to a bot. But originally, Eliza had like these stock responses that were like, "Oh, how do you feel about that?" Or, "That's very interesting. Tell me more." And people would just keep doing it over and over again. And that's a scripted conversation. Nowadays, those can be used by attackers. I don't know if you've heard about some of these. Some of them, eventually, they want to solicit money. Often they pose as foreigners because that way they can use word placement the wrong way and it's not as glaring an error. And I think the Russians are way out ahead of us in terms of the IM scripting attack. Pretty interesting stuff. Social engineering. One more form of communication, another thing for social engineers to exploit. Not hard to do. And it gets through firewalls real well. IM can go right through the browser, too. So it's harder to lock down. All right. Other exchange transfer services. There we go. There's the answer we were looking for. FTP is 20 and 21. No encryption. Clear text. What's the benefit of FTP? Large file sizes, usually. You can move a lot of data very quickly. Active and passive modes. And there's trivial FTP, TFTP. It allows a lot more error. It's more robust because it allows more errors. HTTP. What's that?
It's that thing that came after Google.
Yeah, it'll never catch on. It's like disco. Yeah, good. HTTP proxying. What's a proxy do? What's an anonymizer do? Think back to my 6th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders. The high schoolers were really good at these. They allow you to browse the interwebs without actually disclosing your own information. They act as a third party, repeating HTTP requests and displaying the web page in your browser as if it was you surfing. Benefits to that are being anonymous. You don't have to disclose your information. What are the downsides to that? Usually they're run by some pretty shady characters, which is why they're running anonymizer web servers. And you're disclosing your information to them. You're telling them your browsing habits. You're telling them what you want to look at. And they're literally in the middle. You have created the man-in-the-middle attack by granting someone middle space. Open proxy servers. What's a GET command?
It's what you send to an HTTP server to actually get the request back.
Good. So if it's an open server, then it's just allowing all the GET commands because that's what it's there for. Content filtering. Can you block specific types of traffic based on what the traffic is? Text, graphics, multimedia. Leslie say, yeah. Of course you can. You do it, right? When you create your rule set or when you pick what categories of material you don't like, right? Good. For your kids, for control. HTTP tunneling. You can filter that out by saying, I don't want anonymizers. Do the third-party providers who run the filtering software, the ones that you pay for, are you on a subscription service or is it a...
It's free.
Oh.
K9's free. Mm-hmm. The one I use at home.
Okay. Do you have to download patches and signatures and?
Yeah, you can download. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Rule sets. Mm-hmm. What are they out ahead of the anonymizers? No. They're way behind. They're always playing catch up. They can't see one till it pops up. Everything is a 0-day exploit to them. So there's always that lag time for when it's in the wild to when they block it. And as soon as they block it, that anonymizer goes to a new URL. They don't need that one anymore. HTTP over SSL or TLS. It can be a more secure connection. It allows some session control, not much. SHTTP relies on tunneling, more secure than HTTPS. Passive and active content. What do Java do? What does ActiveX do? What's JavaScript? Flash. It allows different types of applets and media to be run in your browser. There are Flash-based games. There's ActiveX controllers that allow the browser to use your host's native capabilities to play media. The problem with that is, of course, they're using your host. They are telling your host what to do. They're running executables, whereas you've basically given them blanket permission. Instead of allowing each executable by discrimination, picking each one and deciding whether or not you're going to allow it to run, you've basically said to Java, run all of these. That can be troublesome. Peer-to-peer applications and protocols. What is the problem we have with LimeWire, Napster, BearShare? Why don't we like Pirate Bay? Other than the fact that they're big on copyright violation.
Doesn't verify its content.
Good. When they're involved in illicit activity, when they're doing copyright violation, they've basically said, I'm prepared to break the law this far. Well, that can be a real quick slope to, now I'm ready to break the law this far and that far and that far. You're on a slippery slope. Also, in addition to that, because they're not looking at the content, plenty of malicious actors can use those services to say, here, I've got a copy of The Avengers. You want to download the movie? And a lot of people will and won't pay attention to the fact that they're not passing it through their own content checking or content filtering mechanisms. Will antivirus catch everything that those files contain?
Everything it knows about.
Everything it knows about, if it's signature-based, right? It might be able to get some more stuff with heuristics, but you're talking about big files. You're talking about things that are necessarily something that somebody's not going to be checking because they want to make sure they can see the movie for free. It's tricky. Administration services can also be used to stage attack. Because they are designed to allow remote administration of devices on your network, they are perfect for attackers to come in on. Did you say you ran Radius servers? How did you have authentication set up in those?
It was username and password to a central database, but it wasn't for remote authentication. It was just for customers.
Okay, all right. So you didn't have remote users? So they were all internal.
We ran the servers for ISPs. So when a user dialed in, they would put in their username and password and get connected to the internet. But if we were actually managing the servers, we used.
Oh, you didn't? You actually went to the server?
Well, we could get in remotely, just not with Radius.
Oh, okay. All right. So you didn't use Radius and then implement, but you could have if you wanted to.
We could.
You could have gone with an administrative connection through the Radius server.
Right.
Okay. That's the problem they're worried about. That's the threat. The nice part about using it is that it gives you these other options. It gives you other metrics that you can use in administrating. However, because it's one way in, now you've created another hole that could be a vulnerability. You could get a man-in-the-middle attack, either trying to capture the ciphertext and decrypting it, or replay attacks by grabbing one package that's known good, sending that and following it with others that it's guessed. And it doesn't necessarily have integrity protection. It doesn't have, there's no checksum, is that correct? There's no hash. Good. SNMP, another way to manage the architecture, it allows the administrator to say whether or not services or devices can be added to the network. The nice part about that, again, is it allows you to build up your network by administering it from a given user or a given location, and they don't have to actually go around to each device and set them up that way. The problem with that is, of course, once again, you're allowing administrative capability from a remote access. Telnet. Anyone ever telnet into a machine? Yeah, that's not as neat and cool as some of the GUIs that they have now. It was all just, it's a DOS box, isn't it? It's
It was cool at the time.
remote shell.
yeah. You're looking at a command prompt, basically, right? Yes, it was very cool at the time. As we're more in a retro way than anything else. Unfortunately, no encryption, just user ID and password once again. And once you're there, escalating privileges was pretty easy because you had administrator capability. You could add so much more and grab so much more. RLogin, RSH, RCP, Unix command. Why, you're smirking. Andy, a Unix guy?
Yeah.
Cool. And?
Configure these things or turn them off.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. It's a matter of if the service exists, it's going to be its own weakness. But if you turn it off either until you need it or find another way to accomplish the same ends, right, then you can attenuate those risks. Good. Virtual network terminal services. Anyone use VMware at all? Okay. What's it useful for?
It can be sandboxed. So
If you break it, it doesn't hurt anything operationally, right?
Right.
Good. Virtual network terminal services do much the same thing, except they let you look at that desktop remotely, right? Again, I use one for my dad. It's useful. Instead of just having him back up his documents while I'm on the phone with him I guess, see, this would be an IM thing, wouldn't it? I can actually just go to his desktop and back him up for him. Yeah, all right, I don't like talking on the phone. All right, I'll grant you that one. That's good. Good. The risk of that, of course, is once you enable that service, now it's something else that could create a vulnerability. Finger. Use Finger as well?
Yeah.
Good. Why?
Well, I don't use Finger anymore. I turn it off.
Good.
I don't
yeah.
like it.
Don't use it. Don't use it anymore. It can give you residual information about the last time a user was logged in. There's no reason that needs to be out there. NTP, is this useful for timing? Yeah. Why do you want all your devices to have the same time on them?
So your logs are happy.
Good. So your patches are uniform. I'm sorry?
And Kerberos works.
And Kerberos works? Great. Very good. So all the timing and all the tickets are correct? Good.
I'll do that.
Good. Voice over IP. Anyone using voice over IP? Good. What do you think so far?
Oh, very good.
Is it good implementation?
Yes.
Good. Excellent. Do you use a proprietary service, or did you set it up yourself? Or?
I use a Vonage.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. I've heard very good things about Vonage, as a matter of fact. Not to tout any particular product, but yeah. Makes everything a lot cheaper, doesn't it?
Yes.
Good. Some of the problems that have been seen with voice over IP is if your folks are using it with their if they're using it with their remote phones, if they're using it with business communication devices that they're traveling with, they may not be in the same 911 coverage as the server is. So when they place a 911 call looking for assistance, it's actually calling back to wherever that server was. It's not a real likely problem right now, but it's something that should be you should bear it in mind. A lot of security folks don't like it because it was nice to have that built-in redundancy of a phone line and a computer line. If one went down, you might have the other still. It's like when the power goes out in your house, it's nice to still have the phone be functioning. Okay. Do you use session initiation protocol?
No.
No. It's a way to handle multimedia. We're going to talk about the MD5 algorithm and hash functions when we get to encryption. But it's a way of taking that mathematical distillation of the information and making sure that it's the same as it comes out of the operation as when it went in. And it supports encryption. So it's a lot more secure than a phone line, a lot more secure than most of your fiber optic. There are plenty of proprietary versions as well. Anyone use Skype? Skyping? Good. I think GChat has a video version now too, doesn't it? I hope we gave you a bird's eye view of what to expect from all the different layers.